Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Buildings Over Bags. It is Yolanda Kilswalker, and I'm excited, right? Because I feel like we were chopping it up before we pressed record, but I feel like I've known Rashauna forever and ever and ever and ever. You know how you meet somebody on Instagram and it's kind of like how Wendy Williams says it's a friend in your head? She's definitely one of those people because when she speaks, it's kind of like, okay, did she say that or did I say that? Like, where's that coming from? So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Rashauna Scott, I will allow her to just introduce herself and get you all really familiar with her brand and all the dope things that they do. Hey, boo.
Hey, girl. So I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you. So, hey, guys, I am Rashauna Scott. I'm 27 years old, and I am a Illinois licensed real estate agent as well as a real estate investor.
Awesome.
My brand is Flippin' and Heels, and pretty much Flippin' and Heels was created to highlight, educate, uplift, motivate, inspire, all of that and above. But pretty much to bring women to the forefront who are decision makers in the real estate investing arena. When you think about women in real estate, most often we only just think about realtors. And I say it all the time, you know, we as women, we can cash the check and cut the check. Okay. So in Flipping and Heels, that's definitely what we do. And as well as, you know, it's a community, again, to really highlight and show women that this can be done. This is something that you can definitely you can be an investor, you can be a contractor, you can be a landlord, you can be a wholesaler, you can be whatever it is you want to be. Right. And you know, even though yes, this is a very male-dominated industry, like we need to, you know, jump in on that too, some of that action. But I pretty much started investing in 2015, my very first investment. Even before then, I got my license as a leasing agent when I was 21, and I knew I wanted to get into real estate, but I wasn't sure how yet. So I got my leasing license. I was like, I don't want to do that. Spent a lot of money, thousands, invested into myself to learn the language of investing. And so investments, really, real estate is really where my passion lies. And then I went ahead and got my license because I was like, well, you know, I could make some extra money on the side. I could just help out with friends and family because the consumer doesn't know. The consumer doesn't know the difference between a realtor and an investor, right? So a lot of people were coming to me who wanted to buy a house, and I was like, well, I don't really do that. And I had to send them out. And so I was like, well, I can work with friends and family. So then that blew up. And so I'm so blessed, you know, to have a statement in that space as well, because I can show up for my clients having both of that. You know, I'm much more than just a realtor. I'm an investor, and I educate my clients on investing too, which I guess is what birthed hashtag the investors realtor. So I attract clients who are looking to invest in real estate. That's what I do. So whether they are first-time home buyers and they are going to live in one unit and rent the other apartments out, they're going to buy a multi-unit, or whether they're out-of-state investor who, you know, let's say like I got some coming in on the East Coast and the West Coast because of what we're doing here and what we have in Chicago. We have an unlimited amount of multi-unit buildings. And or let's just say they want to flip, you know, so I help them find a property, and then when they're ready to sell, I put it back on the market and sell it for them too. So I'm trying to get it in more than one ways, guys. So
you're getting all the checks, all the possible checks. That's dope. So you definitely touched on a lot of things that I love, like being able to cash the check and cut the check. Yes. Like if you're watching now and you're at work or at home, like hashtag that, tag her, put it in the DMs, put it on Twitter. That was dope. And then I also love just the idea of house hacking, which is, you know, a fairly new concept to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Being in a multi-unit, renting out one unit, and, you know, kind of living in another for free or, you know, for very minimal. That's an amazing way to get started in real estate and to, you know, just grow as an investor and keep some money in your pocket. So I love that. So walk us through like your first deal. Like what was that like for you? Was it a wholesale deal? Was it a buy and hold? Was it a flip? What did that look like?
So my very first deal, I was a private investor. So I and that's probably, I would say that's definitely my niche in real estate, is working with private investors and raising private capital.
Mhm.
I guess, looking back, I'm like, well, maybe it's because that was how I got started.
Right.
So like I said, I joined a real estate investing community, spent thousands of dollars, to learn from the who's who, and people who were, and I got invited. I was given the opportunity to be involved on a deal, and the minimum investment was like $5,000, and I didn't even have that. I was a broke college student, working. I was working full time. I was going to school full time, paying my way through school, so I wouldn't have any student loan debt, because I don't believe in that. But I knew I wanted to be in real estate, and so I was like, look, I know the minimum investment is $5,000. I only have $2,500. That's all I got. Can I please, still be involved? I just wanted to be involved, and I wanted to be a part of something bigger, right? Something so much bigger than me. I mean, I couldn't be a part of $100,000 project with $100,000 because I didn't have that. But this is what I had, and thankfully, the investor at the time, who actually was a woman, she allowed me to be an investor on her project, and it was a great experience. I learned a lot along the way. It was so, she said, you are more involved in my $35,000 investment.
Yeah.
And that's because I was hungry, right? I showed up. I asked questions. I wanted to know, what does this mean? What does that mean? Okay, when you say, you got to there was mold. Okay, so what is that? And it was in a condo. So she learned a lot because she had to now deal with the association, right? What is the association responsible for? Is it what's behind the walls, in front of the walls? So there was a lot of learning to go on in that process, and I was there for every step of the way, because even though I only had $2,500, that was how I was able to get started. And even getting my return was such a great feeling because I didn't have to do anything, right? Yeah. I mean, it was a couple $100, but it was a great feeling. I got my original investment back plus interest, and all I had to do was cut the check. Right. And I was able to show up and learn something in the process. So that was my first deal.
So I love that because, you brought value to the table and you asked. Yes. A lot of times people will say, oh, I don't have that minimum investment.
Girl,
I'm gonna keep it moving. Right.
I was not showing up and saying, I want to learn how to invest in real estate, but I don't have no money, no credit, and can you mentor me? Like, no, I wasn't doing that. And I say it like that because I get a lot of inbox messages from people who say and I get it. We all have to start somewhere. But if you are able to bring something to the table and provide value, now, I mean, it's great. And if you don't have that, then work to that, right? Like, people probably look at the successful and maybe they think like they're arrogant when they say like, oh, I don't have money. Get some. I don't have credit. Fix it. Like, it's really that simple. Like, if there's a problem or if there's something that's stopping you from getting to the next level, then what are you going to do to change? Right. Period. Yeah. There's no secret sauce to this. Like, do the work. Right. Prepare yourself and show up.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm done.
No, and I know it, like, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to get on my soapbox, but no, get on the soapbox because, when you don't bring anything to the table, then it kind of seems like you have this like expectancy factor. And that's a turn off to anybody that you need any type of information from. So for those of you that are, still trying to save up and trying to fix your credit and thinking about something, like, if you want to sit at the table, at least bring a side. You might not be able to bring meat and potatoes, the turkey, but, you need to have something, a salad, some corn, some baked beans, something, so that people know, like, okay, I'm here to contribute and not just take. Yeah. So I love that you touched on that. I love that. So
I did a post, no, sorry. Really quick. I did a post a couple of months ago, maybe now. It's probably maybe earlier this year. No, it was right before the new year. And I said, so many people don't have a seat at the table because they're afraid to bring their own chair.
Amen.
Sometimes you got to at least bring your chair.
Yeah.
There may not be nothing on the menu that you eat.
Right.
You show up and bring your own chair. And then when you get there, you know, provide value, give people a reason of why, okay, next time we need to have something on the menu for this individual because we want them to keep coming back.
Absolutely. 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 Okay, so talk us through like how many deals you've done since 2015, if you even remember, because I know some people don't remember.
No, so I definitely remember. So I've done a few things, right? So I've done tax lien investing where I was in a business relationship. I worked with over 30 different investors, raising money from all across the country, mainly on social media. Went to the tax lien sale, acquired over 60 parcels, managed that whole process, learned the tax lien process in and out. I've done one wholesale deal, which fell in my lap. Like I didn't even really care to do wholesaling. It came to me like I need to sell fast. I was like, okay.
Right.
I called up my buddy who was an expert wholesaler, made $6,500, like just like
There
that.
Yep, nice.
I was like, I may seriously consider this wholesale thing.
Yeah.
From there, I also another investment that I made as a private investor. My next bigger investment was $15,000. And then again, I turned around and did another $35,000 investment. So, and it was a combination of cash as well as business credit, right? Learning how to obtain 0% interest business lines of credit and utilize that to invest in real estate. So I've done, I would say the majority has been private investing. And then now to date, that's why I guess that's why I'm so big on private investing, because that's how I got started. And then now, 2 active rehabs going on. I'm about to pick up a third. And I have 4 private investors that are working with me right now. And I have more that are coming on. So
nice. And are you flipping these? Or are you buying and holding and just refining to pay them off?
Flipping. Yep, flipping. Flipping right now, while the market allows us to flip. So, so I have a partner who's phenomenal, and who also happens to be a licensed general contractor.
Nice.
So the partnership is amazing because the contractor is invested, right? And I tell people that all the time, like when you are looking to partner, look for people who like they're going to mutually benefit, right? From a quality finished product. And you know, because when you pay your contract, when you hire a contractor, they're going to be paid whether you sell the property or not. Right. But if your contractor doesn't get paid until the property sells, they're going to make sure they're doing a dang on good job.
Yeah, that's very true. Keyword she said was licensed.
Listen, I don't think we have time to go through the stories, but that was another reason why I got out of another business relationship. Hiring janky contractors who run off with the money, without my say so, and then want me to show up to the job site and roll up a sleeve. Like what? Nah. So anyway, so so licensed, absolutely licensed, fully licensed, and I think it's important for when you're just starting out, when you're trying to learn. We hear all the time, gurus, oh, you can get started in real estate with no money down. And while that is true, they don't tell you the fourth thing that you need, right? So they say no money, no credit, or should I say the third thing? No money, no credit, but you have to at least have the knowledge, the know-how to put deals together, put people together, say, oh, okay, you got the cash, you got the credit, you got the LLC or the business or whatever, and we can put these things together and we can make some things happen. Now, the only other thing I'll say to that is that when you are picking your partners, make sure that y'all are on the same wavelength, up, down, and across the board. My business partner and I, we had a conversation for 6 months before any paperwork. And that's because I went through so much of what I went through in other relationships that I knew going into the next one, this, and this. And so, experience, right? But have a conversation with people, right? Show up, talk to attorneys, get your attorneys in place, get your contractors in place, talk about all the difficult conversations up front. And usually that's the money.
Yeah.
So what happens if this? What happens if that? What about this? What about that?
Yeah.
So yeah, all that.
And I would say definitely, you know, make sure that that's in writing, because a lot of times people get amnesia or they like change their mind, and you know, it gets crazy.
Right.
So cool. So talk to us about some of the things that you know now that you wish you knew when you first got started.
So definitely the partnership aspect has changed my business completely. Just because, like I said, when I just got started, I'm sure when you first got started, we didn't have a lot of people to look up to, a lot of people to guide us.
Yeah.
And the advice that I got was, oh, get an attorney, you know, but they didn't really tell me like specific and key characteristics when it came to partnering with people and looking to work with people.
Right.
And so for me, if you're some people are in a place where you can get taken advantage of, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel manipulated, and any situations that's making you feel like that, or even anyone who is belittling you before you go into a situation. I'll give you an example. One partnership that I entered into, I had just lost a previous job that I was ready to be done with anyway, but I just lost my job. But I had money saved. Of course, I was stacking because I had my exit plan. I was like,
right.
I'm gonna quit. I'm the real estate.
You know when the signs start to show. Yeah.
Right. You know, I'm gonna quit. I'm in the real estate. And they let me go. I was like, okay, I'm gonna collect all this unemployment and still the real estate.
Right.
And so, but I was in a vulnerable space because one, right, I had just lost my security, and the individual was like, yeah, you know, bring you on board. We're gonna run this company, blah blah blah. And then when it came time for me to go, when I saw how things were running, I was like, you know, I'm gonna head out. And the other people involved in the company was like, well, how you gonna leave? You know, and you the face of the company. That's the problem. Because I wasn't getting paid like I was the face of the company, right? But, and in hindsight, you know, I heard the words partner and equity and all of this, where like things that, like you said, were manipulative, that made you feel like you were gonna be involved or get more than what you were actually gonna get, and that wasn't really the case. So definitely, you know, look out for things like that, as well as what are they saying nowadays? Like, keep that same energy, right? So if people aren't operating on your same energy, another situation when it was funny, I was actually, so this is at the end of that, like I said, I had a relationship, was starting to work with someone else. And now all this money I had saved, I'm living off of for a year and a half. So I had my savings.
Right.
Now things are getting tight. So, had another relationship where I was looking to work with this person, and they were like, yeah, bring your contract, bring your attorney, you know, whatever. I'll sign it. And I was like, well, I don't really have money to hire an attorney right now. I mean, you do, you know, why we can't just work something out? But it was really one of those things where, you know, you felt it kind of made you feel like less than, right? Because you couldn't bring that to the table. And then it became a handshake type of thing. It's like you said, get everything in writing. So even if you can't, and I share that story to say that if someone genuinely wants to connect with you and protect their energy as well as yours, they'll say, okay, well, you know, I understand can't afford an attorney right now, but you providing so much value, right? Because clearly I want to partner with you. So you're providing something, and okay, well, I'll, you know, pay for the attorney, and then we can just take that out of the deal or something like that, right? Like there's ways to get around that. And so like my partner today, I mean, going into things, like I said, we had a conversation for 6 months about all the ifs, the ands, the buts, you know, and how important like the contract and things were, to where is at the point where he was like, okay, let's get this and get that, like, you know, but I had to go through that to learn the importance of it, right? And really stress it. So I would say that wholeheartedly, like, you know, if you take away anything from this conversation, is that it is definitely okay to work with people in business. I mean, real estate is a relationship business. I say that all the time. You have to have relationships with attorneys, lenders, contractors, realtors, inspectors, you name it, right? It's a relationship business. And you often will come in contact with people who have the same goals as you. Oh, you flipping? I want to flip too. Oh, you a landlord and buying properties? I want to do that too. You know, so it's easy to come across people who are on that same wavelength, but just make sure that, again, y'all are, you know, have the same energy. It's reciprocated, and there's no questions. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. Questions up front, ask them. Right. And if we can't talk about everything now, then, you know, that's not the person for you.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. And, you know, people will ruin deals like in a heartbeat. Don't be so hungry for it, thirsty for it, that, you know, you don't take the proper steps in order to like protect yourself down the line, because most business relationships don't last. You know, a lot of most real estate relationships don't last because people don't necessarily think the way that you do. People change their mind. And money ruins a lot of things, either getting money and getting a lot of it, or not having it and running out of it. And then when it's time to, you know, pay the bills,
right,
you know, and people are looking at you and you looking at them and they're looking at you and you looking at them, it's like, what are we gonna do here?
And don't let you owe no investors.
Oh, then you really stomach hurts just thinking about it. Like sick. So I mean, let's talk a little bit about that, because you touched on private lending, right? And we know that like you need to have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. Like, how did you get into that? How did you build up trust and confidence in your lenders so that they felt good, you know, kind of giving you their money?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I remember talking with some multimillionaires years ago from California, and they were raising like millions. And I'm like, man, like how? You know, like that's crazy. And then, of course, I also, in the same thought, I'm like, well, who gonna give me some money? You know, or who gonna give me millions? And at the time, I was like 23, you know, 24, 22, something like that when I first got started. So I'm like, you know, who's gonna give me some money? But again, I think it was the fact that my very first investment was a private investment deal. I think that kind of sparked that, because I was able to be on that side to feel how it felt. Yeah. So I can speak from that, right? And be genuine about that and share that. And then also the other side to that is being in, like I said, relationships where I felt manipulated and less than and all of that. And so I know that I had to go through what I went through to make sure that my investors never feel how I felt, never go through what I've gone through, you know, all that good stuff. Like, I got somebody that still owes me some money. And that's, you know, anyway, the courts will handle it. But yeah, so how you said how? I really think it's just, being just that, like, genuine, authentic, you know, all of that, transparent, right? Telling people, like, the investors, like, this is how much it costs. This is how much the rehab is. Like, this is legit. These are the numbers. You can see it. You know, there's nothing to hide. And I mean, energy and all of that is real. Vibrations, all of that is real. Like, people can sense that. Like, if you BS and you know, you out here just to get out for people, you know, and I pray for discernment all the time. Like, you know, please give me discernment on, you know, who to work with, who not to work with. And I'm sure people are praying for me before they give me, you know, before they give me their hard-earned dollars, or praying about me, I should say. You know, like, is this a genuine person? And yeah, so that's that, right? The high level of it. For those who are like, I need to work with private investors, what do I do, or how can I get private investors? For one, you need to know how to speak the private investor language. For two, you also know what their options are. So I let people know, you know, you can invest with cash, you can invest with credit, or you can invest with your retirement account, your Roth IRA or a self-directed IRA. You can roll over into real estate and you can invest tax-free or tax-deferred. A lot of people do not know that. And they like, man, what? I didn't know I can invest with my retirement account. How many people do we know who have a retirement account? Everybody has a retirement account. Just about, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people do. But like I said, that's 3 different ways. People think it's just cash, but like I said, cash, credit, or your retirement account. So giving people those options, one, you sound like you know what you're doing, and then 2, if you're actually able to show that you're doing what you say you're doing. So you see me posting a lot on social media, right? That's that social credibility. Then my investors who are here, we go to the property. We walk through before, while it's under contract. I let them know these are the plans. This is what we're going to do. This is the timeline. Do you have any questions? Like, it's all about being transparent and allowing people the opportunity to be a part of something bigger, right? I mentioned that earlier. Like, that was the feeling that I had on my very first deal with 2,500. I was able to be a part of something so much bigger, and being able to provide that for our community.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. Yeah. And I just share that because it's very important to me. Obviously that I educate people, especially on financial literacy and investing and things like that. And then when people choose to invest with me, I definitely do not take it for granted. And I mean that. And then the other thing that I share with people, and this is probably good for, people who are looking to raise money, I let people know, these are your options. This is laid out. And I just want you to know, this deal is going to happen with or without you.
Right. Hello. Hello.
Let's just keep it real. I mean, you're giving people an opportunity. Yes, I am grateful that you're able to work with me, that you want to work with me. I'm so grateful. Yeah. But if you don't, I mean, I can get the money from the bank, my mama, I can get it from somebody, I can make a couple calls, but people see it as an opportunity. And I think that's how you have to present it, because that's how it is, right? It's really what it is. And I don't use that to manipulate. I believe that wholeheartedly. It is an opportunity to be a part of something bigger and something greater. And you're able to, now you can bring your friends and your family and say, hey, come look at this property that I'm invested in. Right. My money went towards this. And wow, we just went in there and we innovated and we sold it to a homeowner. Now we're uplifting and revitalizing the community, right? You're able to be a part of that process. So I guess that's how I bring it home.
It's true. And that's just the bottom line. I also started out with private lending. Did it once, it was great, got a great return, did it again, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep on doing that. And then hit a snafu and they didn't pay me back when they said they were going to pay me back. They did, but it came 8 months later, and I was angry. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's always a risk associated with it, but by that time, okay, it was also time for me to step out and start doing my own projects, because I've done the walkthroughs and, talk to them, right? Ask all the questions. So I'm feeling good. So, I love that aspect about it. The other aspect is, I love how you talked about cash, credit, rolling over from your retirement account, and investing into real estate. And of course, I'm going to put the disclaimer out there. Always talk to your financial advisor. At the same time, you really need to just be mindful and do your homework, because real estate returns are beating stock market returns right now. They're beating money market returns. Your money just sitting in the bank, all of those things. So it's really, really important that, while you are on this journey, you're also just educating yourself, because if you just have money sitting in your savings, that can honestly, multiply a lot greater in real estate. And that's just, the bottom line. If you look at whatever that return that investor is offering you in order to private lend, and if it's beating whatever you're currently making, you at least owe it to yourself to do your homework and to look at that. So
you gotta preach.
Yeah, I love private lending. I love private lending, and I feel like that's baby steps for those that are still looking to get some things done.
Yes, I say that all the time, and I love the fact, I didn't know that's how you guys started out, but that's probably why we're like soul sisters.
I was scared. I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want a contractor to take advantage of me. I saw somebody, they were doing things. Here, take this money. They gave me back. I was like, oh, balling. I think I made like $1,500 off the first deal, but balling.
Yes. And that's the feeling, because literally you didn't have to do anything but cut the check. And then you went and cashed the check after you got your investment back plus your return. And the great thing is that you partnered with a professional. And so people, when some people ask me like, oh, I don't have a lot, how can you get started? I tell them, I say, look, I'm not telling you this because I want you to invest with me. You can go invest with anybody. I'm telling you this because, one, this is how I got started, and two, it works. If you don't know what you're doing, partner with someone who does. Partner with a professional until you can branch off on your own and start doing it yourself. A lot of people want to jump in head first, which some people do, but you will more than likely, like 90%, 95% of the time, you're going to lose a lot of money because you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, you can partner with somebody and you're not going to make as much, but who knows? Who's to say that you weren't going to lose that trying to figure it out?
Right.
Yeah. Mic drop.
So what's been your biggest deal to date? Like what, with your flipping, what's been your biggest deal?
So my biggest investment deal was the private money deal. So it's a private money deal. That was my biggest deal. But we have one that we are buying in about 2 to 3 weeks. That'll be the biggest deal. We're looking at about a $60 return on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Very nice. And then what's been your worst deal to date?
The one who still owe me some money. But you know what? Things happen.
Do you know what happened? Like, have they just not been able to sell it?
That's a great question. No. So I think that individual is over leveraged. Yeah, girl, we can preach on that, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even in the process, like I know that it's not it's not denial, it's just delayed, right? So I've gotten some payments back in increments and all of that. Yeah.
But you want your money, and and get your money. Yeah.
So we're in the process of that. I guess you can say that's been the worst deal to date. And a lesson in that is, again, just have your paperwork in order. I had paperwork, but it wasn't completely in order. And then also just be ready to sue if you have to, because you talking about starting off at a minimum $2,500 just to do the paperwork, and for your attorneys to show up to court, they're more than likely going to charge you more than that, unless you have a retainer or something like that. And so I made a post, and this was probably like a year ago now. I said, if you can't afford an attorney, you can't afford to invest in real estate. And it's so funny because a lot of my posts to date, I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
From experience, right? Like, that's real. I'm not out here, speaking of flow. Like, this is real. This is what I went through. I'm willing to share my mistakes, what I've learned, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like I said, ask all the questions up front. People who are really quick to, act. People will act funny or act a certain type of way when they want something from you, right? And then sometimes they'll like disappear. And it's like, we're not doing that around here. That's why even with me, with my private investors, I actually have a system that I put in where they automatically get updates about the project. They love that, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is take somebody's money and go ghost. That is the worst thing that you can do when you're working with investors. So have that open line of communication. Definitely.
You definitely want to make sure that paperwork is like tight. If it's a promissory note, you need some type of just, okay, well, what happens if I don't get paid within this term, and all of those things, because and if you do have to sue, and you just want to just go into it, like, not from a negative standpoint, but you have to be able to protect yourself when you're an investor, it's levels to this thing, right? So once you make that subconscious decision to like, okay, I'm going to say yes to this investor life, like there's just certain people you got to have on your team, and the attorney is one of them. And, and it's not a bad thing. It's a business expense. It just is what it is, because you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your business, your livelihood, all those things. You may get sued. Okay. You may have to sue. Okay. It's par for the course when it comes to investing. So, that's a whole nother level,
And I think it's important to a promissory note, which is basically a promise to pay for those who are tuning in. And that's pretty much all it is. It's a promise to pay. But then there are terms in the contract that are outlined within the promise to pay. And you need to be specific about the questions that you're answering. So like you said, what happens, how long is the term?
Right.
Obviously, what is the return? How long is the return? Also, you can put a mortgage. You can record your investment as a second, third, or whatever mortgage against the property. Like that's another form of protection that a lot of people don't know about. Now, it's gonna cost you, and that's another thing that I offer. I say, if you want, you can tie your investment to the property. But that's another question that you want to ask. Do you want it tied to the property, or do you want it tied to the company or the individual? Right? So those are really great questions to ask. I'm sure you can probably Google too, like what questions to ask. If I'm thinking about being a private investor or a private investor, what are some pitfalls that I need to look out for? And that's definitely it. So I'm glad you said there's levels to it, because you're absolutely right. Like, you can record, as a mortgage, as a lien against the property, or, it should be very deep and outline, what if this, and this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your favorite books and resources that, kind of helped you level up?
So my favorite book, so I know I mentioned about the flipping right now, but for me, the long-term goal is actually investment properties, multiple apartment buildings, 16, 32, 48, or whatever, however many times they can multiply, right?
Yep, me too.
So you talk about, I actually came across a guy's page the other day. I'm not sure how legit he is. You got to be weary of these people on social media. But,
yes, you do.
But he was saying like they just closing like 1,000 unit and this and that and something. And I mean, if that's legit, that's amazing, right? But yeah, definitely. So I say all that to say, so that's the goal. So flipping is seed money to get there. And an amazing book that I read on leveraging real estate, to get to the bigger deals is Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. A lot of people only know him for Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they completely are sleeping on Retire Young, Retire Rich. So absolutely love that book. And then, of course, on Instagram now, Blacker Pockets is an amazing resource that I follow that highlights a lot of Black real estate investors, Black Wealth Renaissance. Shout out to them. And yeah, I mean, pretty much a lot of my inspiration does come from like my social media friends now, because thankfully to social media, I'm able to connect with more people. Like we connected through social media, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like she's doing amazing things, and being able to see people. And that's why another post that I posted the other day about Black real estate investors do exist. Because when I first started out, 6 years ago, when I invested $15,000 into my real estate investing education, it wasn't too many of us. Let me just say that, or at least I didn't see them, right? So I'm grateful to social media and the connections that we're able to make online by utilizing that. And then there's a lot of folks these days. Like I was just featured on a Dream Nation podcast by Casanova Brooks. I just started listening to his podcast. He got some heavy hitters on there. So yeah, I mean, any chance that you get to educate yourself, like just do it, right? I mean, you talk about one of my favorite resources and stuff, but listen, y'all, YouTube University is free. Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I tell people, because they inbox me all the time saying, I want to get starting real estate, but I don't know where to start. If I had $1, you know, for every time I got that message. And so I respond saying, well, figure out where you want to get started first. Do you want to wholesale? Do you want to flip? Do you want to be a landlord? Do you want to be a private investor? Figure that out first, and then dive deeper into your research from there. Because the more specific you can be, the more specific your answers can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love all of that. Thanks for sharing those resources, because a lot of people don't like to give up, you know, where they learn certain things, how they actually change their mindset. So that was dope. So let's talk about sacrifices, because this is the Buildings Over Bags conference. And,
Yes.
you know, we've been talking a lot about just how you have to, you know, not only make mindset changes, but financial changes, relationship changes, and just certain sacrifices in order to really become a sustainable real estate investor. So what has that been like for you? Like, what type of sacrifices have you had to give up in order to, you know, kind of grow your portfolio and grow your brand?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think it's not talked enough. So I'm so glad that the focus of the conference, like that's what we really want people to leave off on, the fact that, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? The marathon continues, right? So we want people to, you know, leave off on that. So one sacrifice, you know, if we want to talk about materialistic things for a second, like I don't have a brand new car. I just paid off my car. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, congratulations.
Right? I bought it brand new off the lot in 2013. It was my very first car. And you know, let me go back for a second. So preparation, I want to touch on that for a very quick second. When I bought my first car, first of all, so you guys can tell I've this work ethic I've had for a while. I have, in my early 20s, I was working full time and going to school full time. Majority of my early 20s, working at night full time, whether it was 11 to 7, whatever, right? Getting off work, driving to school, and being in school from like 9 to 3, and then coming home and sleeping. And sometimes doing real estate on the side. So, and sometimes, and that was before I even had a car, right? So I wasn't doing real estate, but I was definitely working and going to school. So, knew I needed a car, right? Because now I'm like, I need to get around. And I went to the car lot and I was ready to buy a car, and they were going to tell me what they were going to give me, right? They were like, your credit is light. I only had a credit card on there. Again, I didn't have any student loans because I paid for my, you know, for me to go to school. Again, talk about sacrifices. So they were like, this is what, you know, you can afford. This is what we'll give you. And I almost took it because I was desperate, right? I needed a car. I was on the bus. I was taking like 2 buses and a train getting back and forth to school. And, but I was like, you know what? So it was 2013. No, it was 2012. They wanted to give me like a 06 Nissan Sentra for like $18,000 or something like that. Yeah. And like I said, I almost took it, but I was like, you know what? So what do I need to do? Oh, so I need to just beef up my credit a little bit more. Oh, okay. All right. So didn't get the car, went and got a secured credit card, also got a secured loan to build up my credit. And a year later, again in 2013, bought a brand new car and drove it off the lot. So I just wanted to share with you guys that was a year of sacrifice some more when I was ready. But preparation is so important. Find out what you need to do in order to reach your goal, and then go back and do the work to get there. Period. Like, it's not, you know, you guys make success or obtaining success, you know, being successful so difficult, like it's a secret sauce. Like, no, it's a matter of doing the work, period. And when you find out what it takes to get there, go back and do it.
Yep.
That's that. So yeah, definitely that's a sacrifice, because I do want a new car. But I don't need a new car. It runs fine. I just got to tune up. Like, it's good. So I guess say that's a sacrifice, because I did have a new car on my vision board this year, but I wanted to buy a building first before I bought the car. And I haven't gotten the building yet. I was under contract on the building. It fell apart. It didn't work out because the pipes burst during our deep freeze we had here, and the mechanicals. Yeah, it was so cold. The mechanicals, we couldn't get that price down as much as we wanted to. We had we needed an entire new plumbing system, so that blew the entire budget. And so since I have not gotten my building yet, that has delayed me getting my car, even though I can go and buy a new car. But I'm disciplined, I'm focused, I'm saying like this is that, right? Another sacrifice is working my butt off to, again, make sure that I didn't have student loan debt. I knew that it was the fastest growing debt in America, and I knew that I wanted to get into real estate. So my credit needs to be clear in order for me to do this, this, and this. Now, thankfully, there are certain rules and regulations that, you can still buy a house and things like that if you have student loans. But as a realtor, I work with clients all day long who they would have gotten approved for more had they not had this, big, lump sum of a debt, right? A third sacrifice, and then I guess we can leave it off at here. So I have lived at home for the majority of my 20s. Like I said, I'm only 27, never been married, no kids. I have lived at home for the majority of my 20s, right? So I moved out, got an apartment to be closer to downtown. I loved where I was living, and I was living there for about a year, and then I was like, this is stupid. It's time for me to buy. It's time for me to buy. And for me, had I had known what I know now, like a couple of years ago, I would have bought in a position. My previous job, I was there 4 years. Credit was good, had money in the bank. I was considering buying a condo, and I almost did, which wouldn't have been a terrible buy because that was like $100,000 back in 2016, and now it's worth 160. Wow. So that still would have been a good buy. But had I known what I know now, I definitely, without a doubt, would have bought me a building then. And so, but anybody who's self-employed knows that it's so much harder to get a loan, obtain a loan for a building. If you're self-employed. So with that being said, I would say that's been another sacrifice. But so again, the sacrifices are real. Sacrifices are definitely real. Putting on hold what you want to do. Like I do want to so the apartment that I was in, I left the apartment, went back home because I was like, this is stupid. I'm gonna just go back home because I was actually gonna extend my lease for like another 3 years, and I was just gonna buy from there. But the rents were ridiculous. The type of building that I was in, they catered to students who are in and out for like a semester or so. So the shorter the lease term, the higher the rent. Right. And so I was going to sign like a 3-month lease, but my rent like doubled. I was like, y'all got to be out of your mind. So went back home, and, a guy had another plan, about being back at home. My mother ended up needing surgery, so I was able to be there, all of that stuff, while my bank account is stacking and, all these other great things that are happening. Now I am ready to get my condo and get back to where I want to be, but I truly believe that there are things that need to pay for that, like having assets in place. And there are so many people that I follow who remind me of that, right? Sacrifice. Like I'm not, and that's another thing too. And I don't know how we doing on time because I'm like, and one more thing, right? But that's another thing. Like for me, like I said, I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I don't have a husband. I can look at people on social media and see like, oh, they doing this, they doing that, all this and that. Like I remember I was following somebody one day, and she's gorgeous, like, and she wearing all the latest, the Chanel, the Gucci, the this, to that, so I was looking at her like, man, okay, she's doing her thing. And, she's successful and all of that. She put it out there like, yeah, my husband pay all the bills. I said, well, doggone. I want you wear Chanel. I said, shoot, if all my money that I made could just go to my spending habits, I'd be, dip too. So again, sacrificing and realizing where you are and knowing that your situation is your situation, and not even saying like the materialistic things are the ultimate goals, because they're definitely not. But you may want some nice things and you may want some expensive things, and that's okay to get there. But I had a conversation recently with a friend, and I said, if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. He said, no, actually, if you can't buy it 3 times. And I said, you're right about that, because you got a lot of people out here who are going and buying an iPhone and can't afford to buy it twice. They ain't got $1,000 in their bank account, or yeah. So I mean, take that with you too when you think about making a financial decision. If you can't buy it twice right now, I mean, or 3 times right now, and not putting no financial strain on yourself, then you can't afford it.
That's the truth right there. And I mean, people always feel some type of way about being at home. Look, if I could be at home and not have to like pay bills for real, like I would do it in a heartbeat, because at the end of the day, like it's so much more important to actually like have money in the bank versus looking like you have money in the bank. And I get it. Instagram is like one of those things where it's like sometimes you just have to be on tunnel vision, because these people will like have you thinking it's easy, and it's not that easy for everybody. That's great for old girl that her husband's paying all of that and she can rock this, that, and the third.
Right.
But there's some other sides to that too. For every person that's like that is another woman whose husband, left, and now she got to pick up the pieces, figure out how to work and sustain herself when, had she been doing some things all along, she'd be in a different position. Or, instead of like spending that money on things that don't acquire or don't, aren't assets and aren't appreciating, you just spending it. And I mean, are you really going to be rocking these shoes in that bag 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line? No, so
right.
Always just think through those things when you see that. Like a lot of times that's a bill, it's not an investment, it's a bill, and that's cool for that. But like, how can
you got to make monthly payments on it?
Yeah. Yes. That's that new car struggle every day, all day. It's kind of like, do I really want to pay this every single month? And it's just like, I had a conversation because I needed something fixed on my car. And I mean, I do have a Benz. It was paid for in cash, praise them. But, we're also entrepreneurs that have cash-based businesses. And so, somebody made the comment to me like, oh, what you just paid to get your car fixed, like I paid that amount for my whole car. Like they both drive, they both take us to the same destination. One might be a little nicer to get into, but I mean, at the end of the day, like I literally just paid what that person paid for their car to get like something fixed on my car.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it feels good like to bloop bloop, but then after that, it does not feel good to give somebody $1,000 every time I need oil changed, every time a light comes on, like that does not feel good. And you can pay for it 2 and 3 and 4 times over, but like, do you really want to? Like, do I really want to give you this to put oil in the car? Like, no, I don't. I really don't. I really don't.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and I'll say that too. Like when I was living in my apartment, as well, keep going back to like, oh yeah, I posted this. Actually, I did. I posted about this. I was like, I was at the laundromat, and I remember, I don't know if you follow Alex Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Alex, it was the same thing. Like she was at the laundromat and people were like, why are you at the laundromat? She's like, because I want to be, right?
Yeah.
I want to
be watched.
right. They're like, oh, well, if you, a millionaire, if you got all this money, why you at the laundromat? And then for me, like you said, clothes need to be washed, but please believe I can buy 2, 3, 4, 5 dryers if I wanted to, like you said, that balance or that level of sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Is definitely real out here. But I think you have to make the decision now on what your future will look like. Period. Don't wait until it gets here to start making those decisions. And right now, sometimes you're gonna have to sacrifice, and it just depends on if that means getting another job, right? Losing an extra hour of sleep, whatever that looks, staying at home an extra year. Like I have a mentee who's 23, and I told her, I said, you need to stay at home.
That's
Like,
right.
why?
As long as you
Why
can.
are
My
you?
mama had to kick me out. Look, lady. Right. She would have to kick me out.
Yeah, but she's working and makes real decent money, but only got a couple $100 in the bank. What?
Right.
Like that, it doesn't even add up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And
There's a lot. Look, the next conference gonna be called the real bag, right? Because like you said, the real bag. Because I think that's it's so important, and we don't document this process enough. Like a lot of times we want to say, oh, now that I got here, I'm here. Look at me, glamorous, and it's not all glitz and glam in the beginning or during the process or while you're going through. Like people need to realistically have these conversations and like, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And it's really all about too, like living below your means. A lot of people like to live like at the top of that. Oh, I'm making $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a month. So, that means you're spending $7,000 to $8,000 a month. Like that's not what you do. You try to figure out how can I live off as little as possible, and then stack that other money to invest it, to make it multiply, to invest in myself, invest in my family, and like really, really make it grow. But instead, it's like, okay, well now I can afford these things. Just because you can afford them doesn't mean you need them. Doesn't mean you even want them. Like stop trying to go broke impressing people that are broke.
And like I said, if you can't buy it 3 times, you can't afford it. So when you think about, I'm about to go get the latest Jordans, and those cost $200 but you squeezing to make that $200 happen. Ask yourself, if I wanted 3 of these, could I afford it?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, you can't afford it.
Right.
Because what is it, 76% or 67? I forget the number. Whatever. It's a high percentage of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their bank account.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's insane. Yeah, you have to have some money in the bank. Okay, so where can people find you online?
So I'm Rashauna Scott at all social media outlets everywhere. I made it easy for you guys, as well as branding, right? Keep it consistent across all platforms. So I got so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can also email me, RashaunaScott@gmail.com, or if it is a real estate agent inquiry where you need my services, Rashauna.Scott@compass.com. In regards to women investors, you can follow me on Instagram at Flippin in Heels. And then I do also have an online Facebook group, Flippin in Heels. So that's where you guys can find me. You can ask me questions. I give tips, tricks, and tell you about what's going on in my life, as well as working with clients, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad. This happened, birds, a tenant didn't do this, and I mean we had one deal that couldn't close. The place was a mess, and it was on social media. So you may just get some inspiration, and you may just get a contract too. I had somebody slide in my DMs with a deal and ended up with a contract. So come on through, send them deals too.
And for people that might be interested in private lending with you, how do they get in contact with you for that?
Yes. Please email me, RashaunaScott@gmail.com. We'll set up a one-on-one consultation. I'll explain to you the entire process from beginning to end. It's like a 10-minute, it's like a 5-minute explanation, and people are like, "That's it?" I'm like, "Yep, that's it." I make it pretty simple and easy and to the point. And like I said, the deals are gonna happen regardless. So you will get involved while the opportunity is there.
Nice. I love it. This has been very informational for me. I'm sure that everybody watching got a lot out of it. If you all just, think about some of the things, like some of the major takeaways, definitely living below your means and being able to afford things 3 times over. Definitely, having all of your paperwork in order, and building solid, strong relationships with people, because sometimes things do go south and you just want to make sure that you're good, and then above all, like sacrificing and understanding that it's a marathon. The marathon absolutely continues, but this is not a sprint. It's absolutely a marathon, and you might have to work multiple jobs. You might have to stay down a year, and build your credit and get your money up and do these different things and make these sacrifices in order to get to that next level. And then when you are on that level, just building solid relationships and not being afraid to go for it. So I think that those are, just some of the major takeaways for all of the ladies that, what did you say, want to cash checks and cut checks?
You want to cash the check and cut the check. Yes, ma'am. And building so fast. Like, let's do it. Like, if you come to me and you like, I've been saving my money, I got this, I got that, I'm ready to go. Like, you prepared yourself and you did the work. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. So for those of you that are interested in private lending, absolutely hit her up. For those of you that are just, still trying to figure it all out, absolutely follow and support Rashauna. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for, just agreeing to be a part of it. And, honestly, like, I am very just excited for what the future holds for both of us, because, we do have some like goals down the line, and these 100-unit buildings, like, it's time to get them. I know, I'm so excited. We were vibing off of that before we started this chat. So
yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is an amazing event. It's necessary. It's necessary. It's so necessary for our community, for the culture. Like, this wasn't around, and it's free information. Like, like I said, I was 20 something. I mean, I'm 20 something now. I was like early 20 something, 22, 20. I know, girl. I'm like so old. But and I invested thousands. So if you can invest free time into yourself,
right?
Yeah, I can't help you.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for putting this together.
Absolutely. And we will see everyone on the next session.